Talk about this in the law of attraction community about when you're chasing something or you're saying you don't have it. You're like needing something, you're saying you don't have it. But when you become comfortable with where you are, things start to attract to you.
And you have energy.
And you have energy, and you're like a magnet as opposed to an opposite magnet resisting these things that you need and want.
Pursuit is very taxing, and the reason is that there's a biochemical reason for this. Is it's like wandering in the desert not knowing if there's water at all. That's really depleting. I mean, epinephrine is in the brain, and its chemical equivalent in the body is adrenaline. Those are the same thing. And if you're constantly in pursuit, right, you're just pursuing external goals, external goals, it will wear your nervous system down. You will be exhausted, and one will eventually run aground. You'll become mentally depressed. The key is to figure out what are the rewards that you can acquire along the way internally. Remember, it's subjective. There can also be external rewards because many things have milestones, a Series A or a Series B for a company, then the IPO later.
Reaching 1 million users or doing this,
That we have engagements before we have weddings typically, right?
Yeah.
There are those rare instances where people just go and get married, but typically there's a lot of buildup that is designed, that fortunately, provides these reward mechanisms. So the key thing is that you can't just be all gas pedal all the time without rewarding yourself. However, the reward, that dopamine, is so powerful because it actually, as I mentioned before, it actually is the chemical substrate for epinephrine. It creates a reservoir of more energy. And again, I'm not talking about caloric energy or glycogen.
Mind energy.
It's mental energy. It's the desire to push on. It's the desire to keep going. And
so we need some consistent dopamine hits throughout the days or our months to give us more energy to pursue.
That's right.
But we don't want to be over pursued because then we'll burn out.
That's right. And so everyone has to find where that sweet spot is, that kind of, on the freeway driving where it's really smooth and seamless, where you're not on the accelerator the whole time, where you're in a gear that's appropriate. And, we're talking now in terms of sort of, neuroscience lens on these things, but the key is always going to be practices. It's going to be, just as earlier we're talking about bringing stress levels up or down, depending on, or alertness levels up or down, depending on the kind of stress you're experiencing. The reward system is great because when let's say you're a person that can very easily access this dopamine reward. So you're always excited. People say, hey, let's do this. And your mantra is, let's go. And you just kind of go. What we call in science very low activation energy. You just go. That's great. Those people do run the risk of burnout. Although there are these people that we occasionally encounter that just seem to have boundless energy for everything. And they tend to get a lot more done because they have a lot more internal reward. And you'll notice they're getting rewards from all the little things. And it's 100% subjective. It's like hearing funny jokes all day long. You can just keep going. Incidentally, the beginning of relationships when people fall in love, it's a real thing, but it is associated with a big flood of dopamine in the system. Makes everything seem exciting and possible and new. And I think that we also know other people that they have a very hard time accessing this dopamine system. And they either place it under the complete control of external things, so they're miserable until they get the payoff, and then sometimes they're even miserable then, or they really just they haven't learned the skills of how to access it.